The officer grabbed Santa's arm in front of the children. "Sir, you need to come with us," he said, tightening his grip as parents gasped and phones flew up into the air. The red suit stretched at the sleeve. The white beard shifted slightly as Marcus Reed, still sitting in the mall's Santa chair, slowly stood. Bright daylight poured through the glass ceiling above, illuminating everything. There was nowhere for this moment to hide. "I haven't done anything wrong," Marcus said calmly. "I'm scheduled to be here." A second officer stepped in, blocking the children's view. "We've had complaints," he said. "You're causing a disturbance." The word complaints echoed louder than the crying that had already started. A little girl in a green sweater clutched Marcus's leg. "Santa," she whispered, her voice shaking. A mall security guard reached down and pulled her away. "Ma'am, please move your child," he said to her mother. Parents shouted at once, some confused, some angry, some silent but filming. The line of kids waiting for photos stood frozen, candy canes still in their hands. Marcus raised both palms slowly. "I don't want to scare the kids," he said. "Can we talk somewhere else?" "Now," the first officer replied. The handcuffs came out. Metal clicked in the open air. A boy near the front of the line shouted, "Why are you doing that to Santa?" No one answered him. Marcus felt the cuffs close around his wrists as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone yelled, "This is ridiculous." Someone else said, "That's not the real Santa." Marcus looked down at the children one last time. Their faces were confused, some scared, some angry in a way that didn't yet have words. "If you're still listening, thank you for staying with this moment." As the officers began to lead him away, a small voice cut through the noise, clear, shaking, but loud enough to stop everyone. "Wait," a child said. "Stop," the boy said again, louder this time, stepping forward before his mother could grab him. The officers paused for half a second, just long enough for the moment to stretch thin. One of them turned, annoyed. "Sir, step back. I'm a kid," the boy replied, voice cracking. "And that's Santa." Laughter bubbled from somewhere in the crowd, nervous and sharp. A few parents pulled their children closer. Others leaned in, phones steady. Marcus was already being guided away, the cuffs pressing cold against his wrists. He kept his eyes forward, breathing slow, the way he had taught himself years ago. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He just walked. Behind him, the Santa chair sat empty. The officers led him past the food court, past shoppers who stared openly now. Whispers followed them. "Why is Santa in handcuffs? What did he do? That's messed up." They stopped near a service hallway. The mall noise dulled, replaced by the hum of vents and distant holiday music. One officer checked Marcus's pockets while the other spoke into a radio. Marcus swallowed. "Can I call my supervisor?" he asked. "Mall management knows I'm here." "You'll get your chance," the officer replied without looking at him. For a brief moment, the chaos faded. Marcus thought of his daughter, how she'd laughed when she saw him in the suit that morning. He thought of how proud he'd felt, bringing joy instead of stress for once. Then the calm broke. From the open corridor behind them came a sudden rush of sound, running footsteps, high voices, multiple. "Hey, don't take him." Several children had broken free from their parents and were sprinting toward them, candy canes flying from their hands. One little girl yelled through tears, "Santa didn't do anything." The officer spun around, startled, as parents shouted and security scrambled. And just as one officer reached for his radio again, a mall manager pushed through the crowd, face pale, holding a clipboard, and said the words that changed everything. "Why are you detaining our Santa?" "Step back," the officer snapped as the children gathered, voices overlapping in panic and protest. "He's Santa. You can't take him." One child planted himself in front of Marcus, arms spread wide like a shield. A security guard rushed forward, tried to herd the kids away, but they resisted, clinging to the red suit, crying openly now. "Everybody needs to calm down," the mall manager said, raising his clipboard like it might restore order. His eyes darted from the handcuffs to the officers' faces. "This is getting out of control." Marcus lowered himself slowly to one knee, so he was eye level with the kids. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'll be all right." But his voice cracked at the end, and they heard it. One little girl shook her head hard. No, she said. You didn't do anything bad. Phones were everywhere now. Parents whispered urgently. A few shouted at the officers. What law did he break? You're traumatizing children. The first officer straightened his vest. We received multiple complaints, he said loudly, as if volume alone made it true. We're investigating impersonation and disorderly conduct. The mall manager's mouth fell open. Impersonation? He was hired. By us. The officer turned. Sir, step aside. Marcus felt something shift, not in the crowd, but in himself. This wasn't about confusion anymore. It was about control. A woman near the railing shouted, He's the only Santa my kid wanted to see. A boy wiped his nose with his sleeve and looked up at the officers. Santa doesn't yell, he said. He just listens. The words landed harder than any accusation. If you're wondering how a child's sentence could matter in a moment like this, stay with me. The second officer spoke quietly into his radio, then nodded. We're escorting him to a holding area until this is sorted out. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The mall manager took a step forward. You can't. But the officers were already moving again, guiding Marcus away as the children cried louder than before. And just as they reached the service doors, a new voice cut in, sharp and official. Hold it, someone said. Whose authority is this under? Whose authority is this under? The voice repeated, louder now. Everyone froze. A uniformed police lieutenant stepped out from the service hallway, sunlight spilling in behind him from an exterior loading entrance. His eyes went straight to the cuffs on Marcus's wrists, then to the crying children clustered nearby. What's going on? He asked. The first officer answered quickly. Sir, we receive complaints. Possible impersonation. Disorderly conduct. The lieutenant frowned. Impersonating Santa? He looked around at the mall. Decorations, banners, a massive sign that read holiday photos today. In December, the mall manager seized the opening. Lieutenant, he's our contracted Santa. He's been here all week. Marcus finally spoke again. My name is Marcus Reed, he said calmly. I have ID. My contract is with the mall's event office. The lieutenant nodded once. Then uncuff him while we sort this out. The officer hesitated. Sir, I said uncuff him. The metal released. Marcus flexed his hands slowly, feeling the blood return. Around them, the children quieted, watching every movement like it mattered more than the decorations above. For a moment, it felt like the worst was over. Then a woman pushed forward from the crowd, face tight with anger. He scared my son, she said sharply. Santa isn't supposed to look like that. The words landed hard. A hush fell. The lieutenant turned toward her. Ma'am, what do you mean? She gestured at Marcus. He's not the real Santa. My son cried. A few parents nodded. Others looked away. Marcus felt his chest tighten, but he stayed silent. The lieutenant studied him for a long second, then turned back to the officers. That's not a crime. Before anyone could respond, a mall security supervisor rushed in, breathless, holding a tablet. Lieutenant, he said, we have a problem. He turned the screen so everyone could see. It was a social media feed, live video of Marcus being handcuffed, children crying in the background, views climbing by the second. And beneath it, a caption already spreading fast. Mall has Black Santa arrested in front of kids. Security rushed in as the crowd swelled, voices rising again when people realized they were being filmed and watched. Back up, please, guards called out, forming a loose barrier. It barely held. The lieutenant stared at the tablet, then at Marcus. Sir, we need to move you to a quieter area, he said. This isn't resolved yet. The word yet landed heavily. Marcus nodded once. I understand. The children noticed immediately. Don't take him again, the boy from earlier cried, grabbing Marcus's red sleeve. You said he was okay. Marcus knelt again, careful, slow. I just need to answer some questions, he said gently. I'll be right back. The lie hurt more than the cuffs. The officers guided him down the service hallway, away from the bright atrium and the Christmas music. The sounds of the mall faded behind heavy doors. The hallway smelled like cardboard and cleaning solution. Everything felt stripped of warmth. Inside a small security office, Marcus was seated at a metal table. No cuffs this time, but the door closed all the same. An officer began typing. You got identification? Yes, Marcus said, sliding his wallet across the table. And my contract? It's digital. Mall events office. The officer glanced at it, but didn't take it yet. We need to verify. Minutes passed. Then more. From outside the room came raised voices. The mall manager arguing. A security supervisor pushing back. The lieutenant's voice steady but strained. Marcus sat quietly, hands folded, staring at a crack in the wall paint. His thoughts drifted back. Years earlier, a traffic stop that had ended the same way. Calm voice. Hands visible. Still not enough. The door opened suddenly. A different officer stepped in, holding a phone. Sir, he said, uneasy, we just got another call. From who? Marcus asked. Corporate, the officer replied. They want to know why kids are on camera crying and why our Santa is being detained. Before Marcus could respond, a child's voice echoed faintly from the hallway. Angry now, not scared. That's our Santa, the voice shouted. You can't keep him. The officer's jaw tightened as the noise grew louder. And then the phone rang again, this time marked police command. The phone rang again, louder this time, slicing through the small office. Answer it, the lieutenant said sharply from the doorway. The officer picked up, turning slightly away. His posture changed almost immediately, back straighter, voice lower. Yes, sir. I understand. We're holding him now. Marcus felt his stomach drop at the word holding. The officer ended the call and looked at the lieutenant. Command wants him formally detained until this is reviewed. For what charge? The lieutenant asked. A pause. Failure to comply with officer instructions. Marcus let out a slow breath. There was the phrase that always appeared when nothing else fit. Before the lieutenant could respond, the door burst open. A group of children stood in the hallway, flanked by parents who looked both angry and terrified. Security tried to block them, but the kids squeezed through anyway. The same boy from before stepped forward, fists clenched. He didn't do anything, he said, his voice shaking but loud. You never even asked him. The room went still. A little girl added, he listened to me. Bad people don't listen. Marcus felt his eyes burn. He looked down, blinking hard, refusing to let the moment break him. The lieutenant turned away from the desk slowly. Kids, he said gently, you need to go back. No, the boy interrupted. You're wrong. The word hit harder than shouting. A parent stepped forward, holding up a phone. This is live, she said. Everyone's watching. The officer at the desk swallowed. Sir, there's something else. He turned the screen toward the lieutenant. An email had just come through. Timestamp from earlier that morning. Event staff clearance. Marcus Reed, scheduled Santa performer. Approved and verified. The lieutenant stared at it, jaw tightening. If you're wondering why this email wasn't checked before cuffs came out, stay with me, because what happens next doesn't just change Marcus's situation. It changes careers. The lieutenant reached for his radio. Command, he said, voice firm. We need to talk. Now. The lieutenant's radio crackled loudly, drawing every eye in the small office. Command, he said, voice steady but tight. We have verified clearance. Detainment is unsupported. There was a pause on the other end, long enough to feel intentional. Negative, the voice replied. Proceed with processing. The word hit the room like a slap. Marcus sat very still. For the first time, his calm felt fragile, like glass under pressure. The children reacted before the adults did. That's not fair, the boy shouted. You just saw the proof. A murmur of agreement rippled through the parents packed into the hallway. Phone stayed raised. Comments scrolled fast on screens. The lieutenant looked at Marcus, then at the kids, then back at the officer at the desk. Remove the complaint report, he ordered. Now. The officer hesitated. Sir, command. I'll handle command. He stepped into the hallway, shutting the door behind him. The room fell quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Marcus exhaled slowly. A little girl slipped past security and stood beside him, close enough that her shoulder touched his knee. My dad says Santa is whoever shows up, she said softly. Marcus smiled, small and tired. Your dad sounds smart. Seconds later, shouting erupted outside. The door flew open. A mall executive stood there, red-faced, holding a tablet. Lieutenant, he said, You need to see this. The screen showed a recorded phone call, audio only. A woman's voice, sharp and clear. I don't care if he's hired, the voice said. Santa shouldn't look like that. It scared my son. Silence swallowed the room. The executive looked at the officers. This is the complaint that started everything. The lieutenant's face hardened. That's not a safety concern, he said. That's bias. He turned to Marcus. You're free to go. The room erupted. Relief, anger, tears all at once. But before anyone could move, the lieutenant added, and command just ordered internal affairs. He looked directly at the officers who had detained Marcus. Effective immediately. The room erupted before anyone could stop it. Parents clapped. Some cried openly. The children cheered. Not loudly, not perfectly in sync, but with the kind of relief that only comes when something wrong finally stops. Security tried to restore order, but even they looked unsure now. Marcus stood slowly. His legs felt weak, like he'd been holding himself upright on will alone. The lieutenant stepped aside, clearing the doorway. You're free to go, he said again, louder this time. Effective immediately. Marcus nodded once. He didn't trust his voice. As he stepped into the hallway, the children rushed him. Small arms wrapped around his waist. Someone pressed a candy cane into his hand like it mattered. Like proof. That's our Santa, the boy said proudly, daring anyone to argue. The mall executive cleared his throat. Mr. Reed, he said, stiff and formal. On behalf of the mall, we apologize. Marcus looked at him. Please, he said quietly. Just let me finish my shift. The executive hesitated, then nodded. Back in the atrium, sunlight poured through the glass ceiling. The Santa chair waited exactly where it had been left, untouched. When Marcus sat down, the children returned to the line without being told, as if nothing else made sense. But behind the scenes, nothing was the same. 2 officers were escorted away by internal affairs before the hour ended. Reports were pulled. Statements rewritten. Command calls went quiet. Careers began collapsing, not loudly, but permanently. Later, as the crowd thinned, the lieutenant approached Marcus one last time. They should have listened sooner, he said. Marcus adjusted the beard and smiled gently. The kids did. That night, a clip of children standing between a man in a Santa suit and authority spread across the country. Not because it was cute, but because it was clear. Before you go, if this story held you from the first moment to the last, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who needs to hear it.